Thank you. My name is Nathan Broomer, and I use he, him pronouns as a member of the DNC Trans Advisory Committee, a second-time DNC delegate, trans delegate from Florida, and as an out and proud transgender Democratic Party nominee for State House in Florida's 61st District on the ballot November 5th. It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you the story of Jane Fee, someone I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude. You might want to sit. Jane was born in 1927. She served 29 years of service in the United States Army, including during World War II. As a marketing executive for an international business, she was able to travel the world. In 1989, at the age of 62, Jane became openly involved in the transgender community and in advocacy, even appearing on the Sally Jessy Raphael show. It was the 80s, we remember. Jane also served as a member of the University of Minnesota's prevention program to create the campus's first GLBT program. Again, the old acronym. She's held actually a lot of leadership positions in a number of organizations over the years. But then Jane Fee became involved in the Democratic Party, and once again, she was a trailblazer. In 2000, at age 73, Jane Fee became the first openly transgender delegate to the Democratic National Convention. That's right, that year in Los Angeles. In 2024, here today, we have 45 delegates openly trans and non-binary representing 23 states. That's right. So after spending a lot of years in the cold north in Minnesota, what makes this special for me to speak to you is that Jane Fee moved to my hometown, St. Petersburg, Florida. This award is our collective thank you to Jane Fee to honor an extraordinary individual who intentionally uplifts the transgender community within the Democratic Party and, dare I say, within this nation. It is my honor now to introduce Melissa Sklarz from New York to share with you all the previous list of awardees.
Thank you, Nathan. Good afternoon, everyone. You all look beautiful today. So in the 20th century, the only places you'd ever see transgender people were on the Jerry Springer Show or on the meat market, which was on the west side of Manhattan near the piers at night, and there was no other place. But then things started to change. We've heard about Jane Fee to show up in 2000. 2004, this is my 6th convention as a transgender New Yorker. And in 2004, there was a cohort of 6 of us. And then there were 8 of us. And then there were 12 and 26. And now today, this group of people, and this is only the beginning. We will only grow from here. And so the Jane Fee Award honors all those people, the gay and lesbian people that have worked to help trans inclusion, the Democratic Party, and the DNC. And in 2004, Scott Safer was on the platform committee, and he spoke out with brilliance and rage about no trans inclusion. We've included DNC leaders like Rick Stafford and Ray Buckley. We had Mike Honda, who is the congressperson and the parent of a trans kid. And we had Brian Bond, who was the first White House public engagement person, who opened the door for trans people to go to the White House for Obama Pride. I was one of those first people in 2009. Perhaps some of the rest were. 2020, we honored our late DNC member, Bab Sipperstein from New Jersey. And so we're here with you today. You know, we are part of this. We keep growing because of these great leaders that we've honored, and this is only the beginning, the 21st century. And with leaders like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, we can only go forward from here. Thank you.
My name is Marissa Richmond. I'm from the fascist theocracy of Tennessee. And this is my 5th consecutive convention, 4th as a delegate. And I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Transgender Advisory Committee. My fellow co-chairs are Evan Minton of California, who cannot be with us, and our first transgender member of Congress, Sarah McBride, of the great state of Delaware. Sarah, 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 Sarah. So it is now time to present the recipient of the 2024 Jane Fee Award. This award, as Melissa was explaining, goes to a worthy recipient within the party and presented every 4 years by the transgender non-binary delegates to someone who has worked for transgender inclusion and trans diversity within the party. Our recipient doesn't know, until now, that they're getting it. But I've known this person for several years, and his role as a leader of Black Pride. He recently announced his retirement after 25 years as the president and chief executive officer of the Center for Black Equity, which he co-founded. Because of the importance of trans inclusion, he is the one who created that Transgender Advisory Committee that he appointed myself and next Congresswoman McBride and Evan Minton to be co-chairs of. We are so thrilled and honored to recognize Mr. Earl Folks.
And Earl, if you could come up to the stage. I'm just going to read a little bit of your award for the public record. So the 2024 Jane Fee Award goes to Earl Folks from the Trans Non-Binary Delegation to the 2024 Democratic National Convention. And I have to say in myself, and joining Marissa, Nathan, and Melissa up here, and Diego, and so many others that we stand on the shoulders of, that we are able to have these many delegates here at convention and folks and allies in the community, trans community like Earl, and somebody like myself, who is the first non-binary elected official in the state of New Jersey, and second-time delegate, that I have to say that this is inspirational. And so in recognition of outstanding contributions and dedication for your honorable service as the leader in the Democratic National Committee and as chair of the Democratic National Committee and LGBT Caucus, champion of the Trans Advisory Committee, the founder, president, and CEO of the Center for Black Equity, a leader and advocate around HIV and AIDS, and for the leadership and in service of support of democratic trans non-binary individuals and LGBTQIA plus equality and equity for all, I give this Jane Fee Award to Earl Folks. And we in New Jersey, because we like to claim our own, Earl is a member of the New Jersey family as somebody who attended school in the state of New Jersey and lived in New Jersey. I would like to present to Earl Folks on behalf of the state of New Jersey, the General Assembly on behalf of Assemblywoman Garnett Hall, a citation and recognition of service for the DNC LGBTQ plus caucus.
We know we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. I stand on the shoulders of my Uncle Tim, my great Uncle Tim, who was gender nonconforming, who I never saw in men's clothing until they tried to bury him that way. And my brother and I said, no, that's not going to happen. Now, on the flip side, we want to make sure he wasn't wearing his house dress that he always wore, and his slippers as well. There's a happy medium. But I stand on Uncle Tim's shoulder. Uncle Tim had 6 brothers who all played football in high school, and so Uncle Tim, who lived in this community, was safe because he had protection. Because of Uncle Tim had protection, I have to fight for those who need protection, who want protection, who deserve protection, who are human beings, that we need to get over our hang-ups. And let me say one thing while I have this lantern. Transphobia exists in the LGBTQ community. In the same vein that we are becoming, hopefully becoming more racially sensitive, we have to become more trans-sensitive. And we need to acknowledge that transphobia is, when we hear it, just like if we hear someone's making a racist comment, we need to shut them down. We are putting the burden of protecting themselves on themselves, and it's not fair. And if we all do our part, and we all do our individual part and contribute to the whole, we will end transphobia, and every person, regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation or whatever they call themselves, they can live with peace and harmony with the rest of our community. Thank you very much. This means more to me than you will ever know. And I'm grateful, and thank you once again for my service.
And we're going to get a group photo of all of us at the very end of this caucus. Thank you.
Thank you again to the trans delegation, and congratulations to the winner of the Jane Fee Award, our hero, our champion, Earl Folks. Now, please welcome the National Director of the LGBTQ engagement and Parish for President, Sam Allman.
Hey everybody, how are we doing today? I said, how the hell are we doing today? Are we ready to win this election? Are we ready to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? Y'all, I'm Sam Allman. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the LGBTQ engagement director at Harris Walz for President now. And I just want to first start off by saying thank you to everyone in this room. You did not end up here on accident. Very few people take the time to run for delegate to come to the Democratic National Convention who don't have a really good reason for doing so. And I'll just start off by sharing a little story. I'm going to talk at you. You're going to hear numbers. You're going to hear about all the program. But just sharing a story, right? Because it's been 2 months of a lot of high highs and really low lows. And we've been through a lot together as we've endeavored to make sure that we have a champion for equality at the top of our ticket. And then those low moments, right? I've liked to center myself on my story, which I don't share very often, but I got into organizing and started organizing. My reason for showing up at a Democratic National Convention was my sister's story, who got health insurance through the Affordable Care Act just 7 months before being diagnosed with stage 3 metastatic breast cancer. If not for that, who knows if she would be cancer-free, if my family would still have a home in an effort to pay for chemotherapy. And it's reasons like that, right, that we're all here. And I'll tell you something, that reason didn't change on June 27th after a debate. It didn't change after an interview. It didn't change on July 4th. It didn't change on July 21st when Kamala Harris stood up. It's not going to change when we nominate her on Thursday as our candidate, right? And I know every single one of you has a reason just like that for being and sitting in this room. And so it's been a good few weeks. It's been a real good few weeks, right? But it's just been a good few weeks. And so remember that as we talk about this programming and talk about what we're going to do to win in November, all right? So let's go to the next slide. I have a clicker. Oh, right here. Thank you. See if it works. Well, while they are figuring out how to make the slides move, I'll just go ahead and give some voiceover. We launched this program in April, on April 10th. we had 3 primary goals, right? We wanted to build voter contact capacity and infrastructure to elect the top of our ticket. Second, we wanted to drive messaging contrast between our candidate and Donald Trump. I don't think I have to tell anyone how clear as day the difference between our ticket is and their ticket is when it comes to issues for our community, but for most of the communities that make up the Democratic Party. You can see that on the fact sheet that you all had on your seat. Those are fresh off the presses. So excited for y'all to have that in hand. We'll distribute a digital copy of that as well afterwards. And then to continue building our coalition and our infrastructure in terms of political stakeholders, because there have been a lot of fights between 2020 and 2024. And we needed to make sure that as a party, we had a responsibility for taking care and building out long-lasting political infrastructure for the LGBTQ plus community, so that we could be there and show up in those fights with you, which we'll talk a little bit more later on. Since then, we've had over 400 events in our battleground states and across the country in about 30 states. We've made initial investments in paid media and are rolling out paid media partnerships, which I'm very excited to announce later next week. We've had 3,100 people volunteer with the program. We've had 2,000 stakeholders step forward to join and endorse Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And we've had 18,000 people be engaged and participate in LGBTQ plus programming as a part of this campaign. And we're just getting started, y'all. We're not even at GOTV yet. So very excited for all the work to do. We've also rolled out programming in our states. April to June, we rolled out programming in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, and Nebraska. Excited to be rolling out programming in Minnesota, California, New York, Georgia, Florida, Maine, and Louisiana. And then to continue doing that, there are some states on here that we've scheduled, but in as many states as possible to build capacity. One, in our battleground states, right, where we know we've got to win. We like to say that we're not greedy at Harris Walz for president. 270 electoral votes is just fine. We'll take it. More electoral votes will not make her more the president of the United States. So we are laser focused on achieving that mission, and we have many paths to victory across our map that seem to be growing every day. And then build out capacity in what we like to refer to as surge states. In California and New York, where we know our community is, where we know there are volunteers who can phone bank, who can go into battleground states and help us achieve that first mission, right? So excited for all the programming we have. We have 3 fundamental things we're going to do between now and November. If we want to hit the next slide. First, we're going to continue onboarding constituency groups. We've seen an outpouring of support as Kamala Harris has stepped forward. I see many people here who are on our Out for Harris call held across our coalition. We've rolled out trans folks for Harris. We're going to continue rolling out. We've had black queer folks for Harris as well. Thank you, Earl. We're going to continue to roll those out. Excited to roll out Broadway, drag queens for Harris, queer women for Harris, the Mama Bears and Free Moms Hugs group for Harris. Just continue to roll out that sub-programming that brings people in the doors. I think between those calls, we've brought in 30,000 new people to the campaign in like 3 Zoom calls. So continuing to scale that programming is going to be mission critical for us. Second, we're going to be hosting and rolling out our national organizing guidance as a program. Next week, on Thursday, August 29th, there will be a QR code that y'all can sign up to join us. We're very excited. I'll also shout out someone who's come on staff as my deputy, Cesar Toledo, who many of you know is wonderful, an alum of the Victory Fund, who will be running this program, so very excited to have him at the day-to-day of our voter contact. And then continue rolling out paid media partnerships, as was mentioned earlier. And then third, we got to get ready for GOTV, y'all. It's almost time. Ballots drop in like 15 days. I don't know if people realize that. People start voting in this election in 2 weeks. It's kind of daunting to think about, right? We've been talking about 75 days. It starts now. So really building out our capacity to make sure that we are getting in front of every voter possible. So if you haven't volunteered at a phone bank yet, this is the time. If you haven't gotten your friends organized to host a phone bank yet, you all ran for delegate. You know how to do it. This is the time. If you're in a battleground state and you have not been connected with a staffer, we have over 2,500 staffers now in our 8 battleground states. I would be more than happy to connect you with one of them who would love to get you plugged into their programming. And with that, what do we need your help doing right now, as I've just mentioned on our last slide? We've got 3 things you can do. We will also circulate this to all of y'all, but if you want to sign up for anything right now, you can do that using one of these QR codes. First, the national organizing call that I mentioned, which will be on August 29th. We really need folks to be pushing this. This is going to be our moment to roll out our organizing program, right? So we need as many eyes on that as possible. And I have a few fun surprises in store for you too if you plan on joining, so it should be fun. Sign up for a phone bank. We have virtual phone banking going twice a week. You can do it from anywhere. We're very excited about the program and the dialer tool that we've rolled out for those that haven't used it before. It is not like how phone banking used to be. You will not dial a single number yourself. You will just do the business of talking to voters. And then sign up to support the Out for Harris program. If you haven't signed up to get our updates yet, please do. If you could text that link to 3 people today, that would be amazing. And with that, that sort of wraps up my formal programming. I will also take one more privilege to just say thank you to our chairman, Mr. Earl Folks, who I had the pleasure of working with for 2.5 years at the DNC, and has just been a stalwart champion for our community, as has been demonstrated by everyone else here today, and I'm sure others will speak more to that later too. I also want to shout out Liam Kahn, who has made this all possible today. It is not easy running these meetings as someone who has done it, and he is doing so with beauty and with grace. And with that, I'll hand it off to our next speaker. So thank you, everyone.
Please give it up for the amazing Sam Altman. I said give it up for him.
Hi, everybody. I am thrilled to be up here to announce to you the next representative from the state of Delaware, Sarah McBride.
Oh my gosh. Thank you all so much for that introduction. I am so moved by today. I was crying earlier. Thank you for that. If you could have told my 10-year-old self that there'd be a room full of amazing Democrats chanting my chosen name, I never would have believed it. And I just want to start by saying thank you. I am so honored to be with you all today and so fired up. This is, without question, the most beautiful caucus in the entire Democratic Party. I'm honored to be with you today as my authentic self, serving the state Senate district that I was born and raised in the Delaware State Senate, and as the Democratic Party's endorsed candidate for Delaware's open congressional seat. And I hope to join you in 4 years, not just as Delaware's next member of Congress, but as the first openly transgender member of Congress in American history. And while I'm not running to make history with an election, I'm running to make historic change on all of the issues that matter. We do know that if you're not at the table, then you are on the menu. And people like me, people like many of us, we are on the menu right now. There is a cruel and concerted effort to not only roll back the clock on our progress, but to target some of the most vulnerable but badass members of the LGBTQ community for hate and discrimination, trans young people. And we come together today because we know what is at stake in this election. We know what's at risk. We know our dignity and our rights and our lives are on the line. We know what MAGA extremists will do to LGBTQ people, especially trans young people, if given the opportunity. They've made crystal clear with their Project 2025 agenda. And in state legislatures across the country, they've given us a glimpse. They've given us a glimpse into the America they will build for our community. And we are not going backwards. We are not going backwards. They are trying to tell us that we do not belong. Well, we are going to show them in November that we do belong. But we also gather here in Chicago with hope and history in the air, not just because of what is at risk. We join here because of what is possible. We join here because of what is possible for our community if we elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, if we elect a Democratic Congress and make Hakeem Jeffries the Speaker of the House, and if we keep the Senate. We know what is possible. We know that we can get the Equality Act to a pro-equality president's desk. We know we can have an administration that has our backs when MAGA extremists at the state level try to license and mandate discrimination. But we also know what is possible when it comes to all of the issues that we face. Because at the end of the day, as Audre Lorde reminds us, there is no such thing as a single issue cause because no one lives single issue lives. We know what is possible if we win this election. We know we can deliver livable wages for every worker. We know we can deliver affordable child care and housing for every family. We know we can deliver universal health care. We know we can protect reproductive freedom and voting rights and LGBTQ rights for every person in this country. We know what is possible. We are here today to make hope and history rhyme, to guarantee that we continue to move forward as a country. We know what is on the line. We know what is at risk. It is our rights and our progress, but so too is our sense of belonging. And this election, we can show a young black girl or a young South Asian girl that she can have dreams that reach for the stars. We can show a young kid growing up in a small town in a rural community that he too can be vice president of the United States. And we can show a young trans person that no matter what extremists say or do, that here in America, they belong. They belong in our schools, they belong in our communities, and yes, they even belong in the halls of Congress. Thank you all very much. It's an honor to be with you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sergio Gonzalez. I'm the Vice President's Campaign Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor. So first of all, I want to thank the caucus. I want to thank you, Earl, so much. I know that everyone in this room has put in so much work already to make sure that we win in November. So truly, thank you for your organizing. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for everything you're going to do to make sure that we elect Kamala Harris in November. And this, I want to talk about, just take a few minutes, as someone who has worked up close with the Vice President now for a number of years. I started with her after she was elected to the United States Senate back in 2017. And the only thing I really want to focus on today during these remarks is just to make sure that, you know, we are on the cusp of electing a leader and a champion who has been in the LGBTQ community for years across her entire career, right? She talks about often the fact that Jim Rivaldo, who was a senior advisor to Harvey Milk, was her first campaign manager. And I think that speaks volumes about her connection to our community. When she was DA, she set up the first LGBTQ hate crimes unit, and she ended the use of trans panic defense in California. She went on to be a leading figure in the fight for marriage equality. She refused to defend Prop 8 in court in California. Right? And she also performed the first same-sex marriage in California as well. So, yes, you can applaud that. In fact, Chris Perry and Sandy Steyer, who she married, are here during the convention, and we're really happy. I saw them last night, and there's a lot of people from the LGBTQ community, staff, former staff, people she has worked with, people that she has helped, people that she has uplifted, and it is just so wonderful and joyful to see them all here so excited about electing Kamala Harris. We know that Kamala Harris has showed up for our community time and again, including as vice president, and the tremendous progress we have seen, whether it comes to marriage equality and the Respect for Marriage Act, or it comes to advancing equality. Now, we obviously are in the fundamental fight for our freedoms and liberties as we see attacks on our community across the country. And who better to build the coalition to win? Who better to ensure that we have the movement that we need to win in November than Kamala Harris? She has showed up in our community. She has fought and she has made sure that everyone deserves and has access to equal justice under the law. And now, Kamala Harris needs you. She needs everyone in this room because we know, as other speakers have talked about, this is going to be a really tight election. And we know the ugliness of the other side, the kind of hate that they're spewing towards our community in particular. And so when Kamala Harris talks about our path to victory, it is about building coalition, understanding that the attacks on our community are also happening against other communities, whether that's reproductive freedom, whether that's attacks on voting rights. These things are happening in the same places, in the same states, by the same type of ideologues and people who have an agenda of dividing us, not bringing us together. And so now the Vice President and Governor Walz are offering a different vision. They're offering a vision that is one about the promise of America, understanding where we fall in that promise, understanding around the issues of equality and justice, and how we have so much to do, but the progress we have made. And so I'm just going to end with the line from the Vice President always talks about, there have been generations that have come before us who have fought for progress and equality, and now they're passing the baton to us. Let's make sure we elect Kamala Harris and Governor Walz and carry forward that work and that progress into November. Thank you, everyone.
Please welcome CEO and President of the Victory Fund, Annie Parise, along with Sean Malone, who's Vice President of Political Programs and LGBTQ Victory Fund.
Okay, my name is Anise Parker, and I'm the president and CEO of the LGBTQ Victory Fund. And a point of privilege here, back in the day, I was Earl's co-chair for this organization, way back in the day. He kept doing it. I went off and did other things. I think you did well.
And you were smart.
He says I was smarter. No, I just got elected. So I am here to talk a little bit about LGBTQ Victory Fund and Victory Institute. But before I do that, the other point of privilege I'm going to make is we have these buttons. Take them home, use them, show them off. We're not going to schlep them back with us. Give them to people you know are LGBTQ delegates. Give them to people you wish were. Spread them around the floor of the convention. We want to see each other. We want to be able to spot each other. We have a couple of really quick slides about what we do, but the short version of what LGBTQ Victory is, we don't do policy, we don't do lobbying, we only do people. We put LGBT leaders into public office. That's all we do. And as much as I love Kamala Harris and as much as I'm excited to be here and she's going to be our next president, we didn't endorse Kamala Harris because we don't endorse allies. We only endorse members of the LGBTQ community. That is our mission. We've done it for 33 years and we're going to continue to do it. We do it very well. So, I know we have a couple of our out LGBT elected officials in the room. Stand up, stand up. Well, at least one. There we go. More. Thank you for serving proudly for all of us. I know there's other folks in the room who have been through one of our trainings because they want to be a public official someday. Have you gone through our LGBT candidate training? Stand up, please. More, yes. A number of the successful elected officials, but also candidates in the room. Thank you. We have also focused on delegate training as well. And why do we do that? Because a lot of us start out coming to the conventions and we get the bug and we decide we want to do something else within the party. So we hope you'll think about that. Now, I'm not up there. Sean will be speaking to you in just a second, but flip to the next slide. Here we go. This is a quick overview of the kinds of services we offer to those of us in the community who want to be in public office someday. Up at the top it says, come out. Yeah, you have to come out. We actually help sitting elected officials who, one, closeted, navigate how to come out. But there's a range of programming, and as I mentioned, we do candidate trainings. We have specialized programs for women, for candidates of color, for trans candidates, the Empowerment Fellowship up there. Andrea Jenkins is in office today because she went through our Empowerment Fellowship, and she will tell you that. Once you're actually a candidate, there's services that are provided. Sean's going to touch on those a little bit. He's in charge of our political programs. And then when you're an elected official, we also provide services for you. We do leadership development programs for our current elected officials. We have the largest convening of elected officials in the world every year in DC, our annual LGBTQ+ Leaders Conference. It is open to everyone, but it is focused on bringing together elected officials from across the globe. And we hope that you will go to our website. You'll get the QR code in a little bit to find out more about that program. We also, once we have the new administration, LGBTQ+ Victory Institute is the organization for providing resumes to the new administration for those who want appointments in that administration. We have been doing it since the Clinton administration. The other organizations work with us. We're the point agency. In fact, our biggest problem is that the White House keeps hiring away the people we have in charge of implementing that program. So see us if that is what you are interested in doing. And then again, visit one of our websites. You'll get the code in a little bit. There are a range of candidates who are running this year all across the country. Kamala Harris is going to have coattails, but she's going to need us at the grassroots pushing up. And I'm going to tell you, people are going to show up for the trans school board candidate in their community. People are going to show up for the state rep who is non-binary in their community. People are going to show up for the lesbian or gay man who is running for city council, even if they're not excited about the top of the ticket as we are. They will show up in their community for people they know. We need to make sure that those folks down ballot have the resources they need. That's our job, so they can push up on that ticket as well. And you know what happens? We're all going to meet in the middle. I'm going to step aside for Sean Malloy.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. Hey. Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Malloy. I'm the Vice President of Political Programs at LGBTQ Victory Fund. I'm also the chair of the LGBTQ Caucus of the State Democratic Party of Pennsylvania, and the first LGBTQ person to be elected to the DNC from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We can go to the next slide, but before we do that, I just have to say, 8 years ago, I was Liam. I was running this caucus, so I have a little bit of PTSD, but this is an absolutely amazing event, but serving under Earl, who was an absolute treasure, is an absolute treasure, but has done so much for this party. So once again, congratulations, Earl. Thank you. But I have some interactive slides here. We've got some QR codes. Everybody loves them. All right, we're going to crowdsource. Since that 8 years ago, we have tripled the amount of out LGBTQ people in the United States. So let's clap for that. In office. But we like to keep a record of that. If something is not counted, it is not valued, right? But even with those record numbers, we are still highly underrepresented. Only 0.25% of elected officials in the United States are LGBTQ. I think that's crazy because we're at 7.2% of the population according to Gallup. And who's it from Gen Z? 28%, 25 to 28% of Gen Z is LGBTQ. So when we're talking about people going out and voting for their rights and having that uptick in impact, talking to LGBTQ people and about our lives is extremely important in getting voters out. So I want you to scan this. I want you all to look in your state.
You are on the ground. We know there's LGBTQ people out there in office who may just not have heard about Victory, who may not have engaged in a program with us. We want to be there to support them because it's not always easy. So we're here for them. Please feel free to email political@victoryfund.org with any names and positions, and or connect us with them. We'd love to engage with them. But since we were here 8 years ago, we've elected 20 trans people to the state legislature, non-binary, gender non-conforming. We've got Danica Rome right over here, the history maker. But that happened since the last time we were in person. We've also have 3 governors, 3 senators, and we have elected someone to every single state legislative chamber at some point, except for 1 state. So let's all promise ourselves that before we meet again in 4 years, we are going to elect someone in Louisiana. That is our last state, everybody. Yeah. But in order to get to 7% of elected officials, we need to elect 36,000 more people to office, and that number is just going to grow as more people come out and Gen Z becomes more of the population. We can go to the next slide, because we did this delegate work. We worked with Liam, we worked with so many state party folks, caucuses, to help get this record amount of LGBTQ delegates, because this is a pipeline. You all got petitions signed. You all went to those breakfasts and those dinners. You knocked doors. You fundraised. Well, guess what? That's being a candidate. You all were candidates. And guess what? 20% of folks who were delegates in 2016 ran for public office afterwards, or higher public office. And so we're here to recruit you. So please go ahead. If you are a delegate and you didn't fill out the form for Victory, this is the QR code to do that. Please take a picture of that. And then once again, if you're interested in running, please email political@victoryfund.org. And then I'll close out with just one more QR code. Actually, the map. Let's go to the map. This is the battleground. LGBTQ people are 7% of the vote. That was true in 2020. That was true in 2022. We're probably actually going to get into the double digits this year. If Gen Z turns out, if millennials turn out, this election is won for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and a record amount of LGBTQ candidates running on the forefront of battlegrounds, whether it's control state legislatures in states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, right? We've got LGBTQ candidates running for state house. LGBTQ candidates are going to make or break the majorities in Congress, right? Whether or not we pick up seats or our frontline candidates win is going to decide whether or not we take back the House of Representatives. And if Tammy Baldwin does not win re-election in Wisconsin, we will not have a voice, an out voice, that's key, an out voice in the US Senate. And so that is a paramount race, but she has coattails as well in Wisconsin. So we're working to help support the candidates running down the ticket. And if you're doing any sort of electoral program, this is just one small tactic I wanted to share. In 2020, we, Democrats, could have won 14 more legislative chambers, control of 14 more legislative chambers, if people who came out and voted for Joe Biden, just 2% of them voted down ticket also for the Democrat running for state legislature. So when you're informing voters, we need to talk about Kamala Harris. We need to make sure we're talking about those down ticket candidates too. And Sister District did some data. They ran those numbers. People remember to vote if there's a hook. And guess what's a great hook? Making history as an LGBTQ candidate. So when you're doing that outreach, don't forget that as well. And we can go to the last slide, because this is an informational QR code about all those different programs Mayor Parker talked about. And then also, if you're going down to the United Center tonight, representation matters. So wear your pink and let the camera see this record amount of representation. Thank you so very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, Denise, and the LGBTQ Victory Fund. Please welcome to the stage Rodrigo. Rodrigo, I can't pronounce your last name.
Nobody can.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. My name is Rodrigo Hang-Leitonen. No one can pronounce it either, though, so no worries, voice of God. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director of Advocates for Trans Equality. So appreciate you all being here today, this historic event. If you are a trans delegate, by the way, we got buttons for you. So Josie, Tekla, raise your hand. Find us if you don't have a trans delegate button. But it is my honor, distinct honor, to introduce our next speaker. We're so grateful to have him helping us in this new era of LGBT rights in this country. Please join me in welcoming Chasten Buttigieg. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Hello. How's everybody doing? Are you drinking water? Because I'm not. I might need some. I'm tired. Are you tired? I feel like I'm not allowed to complain because my schedule is like 800 times easier than my husband's. What a week. It is so great to be here with you. I got to be honest. I keep thinking, I keep getting emotional all week already. I keep getting emotional about too many things. I think that's part of becoming a dad. I've become a big softie. But I keep thinking about what it was like walking the halls of high school as a closeted teenager, and had I ever passed a room like this that said LGBTQ Caucus, how I would have ran away, that I would have never have had the courage to walk through that door, how long many of us have hid that identity, that truth, and how remarkable it is today to be surrounded by friends and family, to look at our neighbor and know that not only do we belong here, not only should we take up space here, but we have power here. And I think that's pretty remarkable. You know, when my husband launched his presidential campaign, I jumped in right away, confident that I could go out there and do what was necessary to be a surrogate for your husband who was running for president. I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember sitting in these news interviews, and journalists would say this question. They would ask, what makes you think you can do this? What prepared you for this? And I will never forget, shortly on the eve of Pete winning Iowa, I sat down with one of these reporters, and they said, what makes you think you can do this? You're just a teacher. Yeah, that's what I thought too, but I was on national television, so I couldn't do that. And I get it. To some people, being in politics, being in positions of power or privilege only belong to a certain few, that maybe teachers don't belong in that space, or queer people don't belong to take up space in those rooms or even in those big white buildings in Washington. And I believed them for a while. Maybe I didn't belong. Maybe I shouldn't be sitting on the other side of that camera. And then I stopped thinking that way and reminded myself that all politics is personal. I didn't consider myself a very politically active person, but when you stop and think about it, politics have been happening to me since the day I was born. I grew up in rural conservative northern Michigan. You were just a Republican. If you were a country boy like me, I was a 4-H'er. I know you can't believe it, but I was. I've got the blue ribbons to prove it. But that's just what you were. When I was 17, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And I used to watch how my mom would go through the drive-thru at the Walgreens pharmacy. And before the Affordable Care Act, she would send her chemotherapy treatments back through the teller window because we couldn't afford it. And my mom had to make the decision whether or not she was going to afford chemotherapy or whether she was going to send a check for lunch money with her kid to school. When I came out, convinced that I would lose my parents' love and never know love in community, I ran away. I slept in the back seat of my Saturn Ion. I went to put myself through community college, working full-time at the hospital. That's politics. That's politics. That's people making decisions in those big white buildings. Telling a young queer kid that they don't belong. Making a mother choose between medicine and feeding her kid. When I was in college, I didn't know what the hell I was doing either, and it took on a lot of student debt. When I graduated from college, I got really sick and graduated from the hospital with a lot of medical debt as well. That's politics. When a young teacher graduates from school trying to get a start in this world and is facing with $100,000 in student and medical debt, that's politics. And politics has always pushed me to try to do the right thing. And I don't think becoming a parent has changed my political convictions, but it sure has scared the daylight out of me. Because it all becomes just a little bit closer when you're holding your newborn kids in your hand, realizing that you really do have a limited amount of time on this earth, and you only have so much time to get it right. Gus and Penelope are the best thing that have ever happened to Peter and I, but they're also the most terrifying thing. Not only because in my experience of being a teacher and my experience of sitting in the hot seat on national media, but it is really, really hard to get 2 3-year-olds to sit down at the dinner table. And my daughter is becoming more like me every day, and that terrifies me. I'm so scared. The other day, I asked her to please go wash her hands and sit down at the dinner table, and she grabbed both of my hands and said, "I already told you I don't want to do that." Reading me for filth every day. That's Penelope Rose. She's very honest. Becoming a parent has changed me, but it has also kept me humble, and it makes me think about how that scared teenager walking those hallways never thought he would be in this position. I never thought that I would know love. I never thought I'd get to go back home. I never thought I would feel my parents' love again. I never thought I would have this ring on my finger, and I definitely never thought that I would be sitting in a hospital one day holding 2 newborns. And yet here we are. Dreams come true. Dreams come true because of politics. Dreams come true because of progress. And dreams came true because of people sitting in this room. And so to you, I am so deeply grateful. But because those dreams come true, you don't roll up the proverbial rope ladder and walk away just because you got the ring, just because you got the twins, just because you got the cute husband. That should make you want to reach your hand down even further and pull other people up. So let's recognize in this season of politics that it's not just about rings and it's not just about families. It's recognizing that people in this community are being demonized still every single day, especially young, vulnerable trans kids in this country who just want to belong. So in this season of politics, I hope that we can remind one another that yes, some dreams have come true because of politics and because of progress and because of the people linking arms in this room saying we demand more, we demand better. But let us also remember that there are other kids out there walking halls just like we did in high school who are still not brave enough and still don't have the safety to peek their head through a door like this one. So let's go out there and show them that there can be a better way. And I know we can do that by electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz this November. They are your ally. They are our allies. And I hope that we can remember to be pro-family is to be pro-every family. I will constantly link arms with you. I will always be your ally. I cannot wait to do the work with you this fall. Let's continue marching forward together, and I cannot wait to elect Kamala Harris, our next president of the United States. Thank you very much for your allyship and your friendship. I'll see you out on the trail. Thank you.
Please welcome the next representative from the state of Texas, Julie Johnson.
How are y'all doing? So I'm Julie Johnson. I am in the Texas State Legislature, founder of the first ever LGBT Caucus in the state of Texas. And I'm going to be the new congressperson from the state of Texas, the first out person ever from the state or from any state south of the Mason-Dixon. So I'm going to be very quick. You know, when I was running my primary, the Republicans, their whole message to everyone was that the gay community, that the trans community were terrible, were going to destroy our society and ruin the American family. I was the only Democrat on TV, and my message was, I am gay, I'm first gay, I'm gay all day, and we're gay, 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 gay. And you know what? We freaking won. And so I think it's really important. So if you're an elected candidate, my message to you is this: don't hide from your truth, own it, campaign on it. People value it, they understand who we are, they will vote for you, and you will win, just like I did in the state of Texas. So the other thing is, we have to use our voice to communicate. Those little kids in Tyler, Texas, in the suburbs got to see me on TV and see an out person win, but that only helps if we amplify the voices of everyone trying to do that. It can't just be our voice, it has to be our collective voice to amplify the candidates of equality, to motivate people to run, to motivate people to win, and know that if we're going to put our names on the ballot, that you have our back. And so together we can win the state legislatures, we can win in the United States Congress, and I'm here to say I'm very hopeful that Texas is going to elect the first black woman to the presidency in Kamala Harris, and the first lesbian to the United States Congress. Elections matter. So what are we going to do? If you fight, what are we going to do? If we fight, we win, and gay people fight like hell. So let's go win.
Personal privilege, it's Josie Caballero. I added an I to my life. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm Josie Caballero, she, her pronouns. Thank you. I'm the Director of Voting and Elections for the Advocates for Trans Equality and a proud trans woman here today. And it is my honor and pleasure to introduce, no? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, fair. I'm vibing a little bit here, everybody. I wanted to share a story with you really quick. I was a delegate in 2016, and it was pre-transition, and there was a powerful speaker that spoke, and that speaker was Sarah McBride. It was that moment when I saw her speak on the main stage that showed me that it was possible to be a trans woman in politics. That moment shows the power of representation, what it means to take up that main stage, because now I'm thriving as a trans woman. I've been appointed by the Governor Wes Moore as a commissioner for the LGBTQ Commission for the state of Maryland. I am the acting president of the Transgender American Veteran Association. And I am a founding member of the DNC Trans Advisory Committee. Somebody asked me, Josie, you've been transitioning for a while. What gives you gender euphoria? And I was like, it's girl boss euphoria. Every day I see us out and about and thriving in power, in politics. I see examples of girl boss euphoria, boy boss euphoria, person boss euphoria, because trans people lead, trans people win, and our issues win. If trans people did not vote, we would not be winning right now. The path to victory goes right through the trans community. We vote at a higher propensity than the average voting population. That's what we do. We register at a higher rate than the average population. We bring victory. We will not be forgotten because we are power, we are a voting bloc, and we will represent this country to make sure that we win our victories, because it's not going to be given to us. It has to be taken. Okay. So now it is my honor to introduce our powerful ally, our chair of the DNC, Jamie Harrison. Thank you so much.
What's going on, Democrats? Okay, come on now. I can barely talk. I know y'all can do better than that. What's going on, Democrats? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. First and foremost, let me just say how grateful I am for your chair of the LGBTQ Caucus, the great Earl Folks. Give it up. Let's give it up to Earl. Earl, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for all that you have done. You know, Earl told me that, you know, this might be the last time he's going to do all of this chairing stuff and all that. And I just want to give him his flowers, to let him know how much I have appreciated learning from him, working with him, to make sure that we could be a voice for the LGBTQ+ community. He is a trailblazer, and he is at the heart and the soul of this Democratic Party. Earl, thank you. I love you with all my heart, brother. And I know you all have a packed schedule, so I'm not going to spend that long, but I just wanted to stop by, and I had to stop by to say hello and to thank you for all of that you're doing across the country, and to let you know that this DNC is going to stand with you 100% of the way. You know, I had an interview this morning, and they asked me about all of the things that are going on at this convention. And I described this convention as a big and probably the largest family reunion in the world. Because in essence, that's what it is. Because at family reunions, people are laughing, they're hugging, they're dancing, and they're crying sometimes. But those reunions are filled with love and happiness and joy. That floor for these last 2 nights is filled with love and happiness and joy. You know, the other party is a party that's built around fear. They want to make you afraid of everything. Hell, you're so afraid you don't even want to get out of your house. But my friends, we are a party built on hope. And every time we run on hope in the Democratic Party, we win. And this is a team, a family of hope and joy. And in this family filled with hope and joy, we have an MVP, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. And this team and this family also has a coach in Tim Walz. And then there's any good team, any championship level team, have some really good role players. And that's where we all come in. We are the role players. They're going to do what they do. Coach Walz is going to do what he has to do in order to support the team. The MVP is going to do what she has to do in order to win that race time and time again. And then the role players have to play their part. We have to step in. We have to hit those extra shots. We have to do those rebounds. And sometimes we got to throw a few damn elbows too. That's what role players do. You have right now 2 folks who I believe will create the most pro-LGBTQ+ administration in the history of this great nation. Because you have 2 people whose history has proven that they will stand up to bullies. We've heard the story of Kamala Harris. Even when she was 5 years old, somebody was bullying her friend, and she said, not on my watch. She even carries a scar from the push and pull of dealing with that. And we heard about the coach, Tim Walz, and the fact that he was a pioneer, standing up to be an ally to the LGBTQ community, helping to create an atmosphere where a young gay person could stand up and be themselves. That is who we have leading us in this Democratic Party. They have the track record of doing just that. My friends, in the family that I come from, we may fight like hell with each other, but let somebody else try to mess with us. Let somebody else try to step in. They won't step back. And that's what we have to do in this party, because when they come for one of us, they come for all of us. I want every young LGBTQ plus person growing up in this country to understand that you matter, you are valued, and you know what? You are enough, and we are going to fight for you. You are not in this by yourself, because this party believes in an American dream that doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter who you, where you come from. Doesn't matter who you love or how you identify yourself. Every American, every single one of us should be able to live the American dream and to be who we want to be when we want to be it. So my friends, this community is at the center of the Democratic Party. It's at the heart of the Democratic Party. And what we know, the second gentleman told us last night, that we all have to be joyful warriors. We have to be joyful warriors in fighting for our freedoms and our rights, because they are under full assault. When I was growing up in South Carolina, I often thought, what would I have done in the civil rights movement? Would I have gone to the sit-ins? Would I have been on the picket lines? What would I have done? Well, my friends, we don't have to wonder about what we would have done in the civil rights movement, because we're in the civil rights movement of our time right now. And so the question is, my friends, the question is, and it's amazing how history teaches us about the present. Dr. King said in his letter from a Birmingham jail, he said, we will repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. So good people, are you going to be silent? No. Are you going to stand up? Yes. Are you ready to fight? Yes. If you are ready to fight, then you know when we fight, we win. So let's win this damn election, y'all. Let's make sure we stand up for each and every American so they can be who they want to be, so they can love who they want to love. I love you with all of my heart, and I'm going to stand with you with everything I got. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of this convention.
Good afternoon, Democrats. How are you doing? You guys still awake? My name's Dwayne Duffy. I am the Vice President of the Mescalero Apache Tribe, the first openly gay man to ever be elected to executive position on the reservation. Thank you. I have spent a lifetime in politics. I've served as a deputy secretary in New Mexico. I've served in various capacities on the reservation, and I'm glad to be here. This is my first convention, first time being a delegate, and I do have to say that this experience is surreal. It's amazing. All the conversations that we have been able to engage in, to meet wonderful people like yourself, and I hope that one day I'll be able to return in 4 years when we re-elect Kamala Harris to the presidency. So just real quick, how many tribal people do we have out there? Raise your hands, yell out. Be proud. Oh! So, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for showing up. The one thing that we're trying to do within our tribal communities is to galvanize our tribal folks, because tribal votes matter. If you don't believe me, look at Arizona. It's because of Native Americans, Arizona, that state went blue. So we have to get out there, just like your votes matter. We as tribal people, we have to galvanize ourselves. We have to get to the polls, and we have to ensure a Harris-Walz victory this November. So with that, I want to thank all of you for being here, and I thank those who made it possible for me to get up here and MC this section of the program. And so with our first question, we're going to go over to Lee. Lee, Minnesota Democrats, despite having only 1 seat majority in the state Senate, actually, wait a minute. I think we should go through some introductions real quick.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Democrats. So I'm State Representative Travis Nelson from the great state of Oregon. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I am the only black man in the House of Representatives in my state, and I'm the first openly LGBTQ plus African American ever elected to the Oregon State Legislature.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Democrats.
Hey.
My name is Sharon Jones, and I am from the great state of Florida. And I'm so happy to be here. I am the first openly gay person to be elected to the Florida Senate in Florida's history. And it's happy to be here with you all today.
It's amazing that we have up here on stage a lot of firsts. A first to serve in our capacity within our respective roles, and that's awesome. I don't know who planned that out, but thank you. That's amazing. So I'm going back to Lee. Lee, Minnesota Democrats, despite having only a 1-seat majority in the state Senate, passed multiple laws protecting the trans community. How did this come about, and what role did Governor Walz play in this?
Democrats who are voting to support trans people. There as queer people lead, nothing about us without us. That is how we get it done.
Okay, this next question is actually for all of you, and so you guys just can take turns. I don't, maybe rock, paper, scissors, who wants to go first? What do you think people here should take away about the role of state legislators in expanding and defending LGBTQ plus rights?
I guess I'll start off. I think, first of all, we have to understand that the state legislatures are exactly where a lot of these bills start that becomes nationalized. If we're looking at the state of Florida, when we did the parental rights in education, colloquially known as Don't Say Gay, we have to understand that the Florida legislature had been building on that for years. And now when they finally got the gall to be able to move it, they did. They brought it into the legislative body. In order for us to begin to push back on that, I think we've heard the resounding sound of what needs to happen. We have to elect more LGBTQ people to the state legislatures, because it is true that if we're not at the table, if we're not at the table, then we are on the menu.
Right.
And for so long, we have been on the menu. But I believe that that's changing, and as we continue to put more people at the table, we can begin to push back and humanize our lives.
Right.
Because let me tell you, what they think we are. They think that we are doing this because of some farce or whatever.
Right.
Not realizing that not only are we living our truth, but we're living the truth for legacy to come behind us to show others that it is possible.
Right. Thank you.
So state legislatures are certainly critical, both in terms of expanding our rights and protecting our rights. Georgia is one of the few states in the country, one of 5, that does not have comprehensive civil rights protections for the LGBTQ community. So you can be fired, kicked out of public accommodations just for being a member of the LGBTQ community. In Georgia this year, we saw more than 20 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced. These are the front lines of attack for the far right against our community, particularly against transgender youth. Thankfully, we were successful in defeating every single one of them. But we have to pay attention to the state legislature. We need to be strategic in claiming power from the State House to the White House.
And I'll just add to that by saying representation really does matter.
Yes.
I'm a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for nearly 20 years. And 2023 was my first long session. And I was the chief sponsor of a bill known as House Bill 2002, which was a bill that expanded reproductive health rights in the state of Oregon. And it also made Oregon, I believe, could have been Minnesota, but I think it made Oregon the best state on providing healthcare coverage for gender-affirming care in the country. And that led to a Republican walkout. But because we have a strong LGBTQ plus caucus in our state, our colleagues supported us and backed us, and leadership stood strong. And we withstood the Republican walkout and got that bill across the finish line.
I'll just add quickly, I mean, everything that you said up here, everything you heard, it's correct. We need to be the ones telling our own stories. When I got into the House as the first trans person, there's a reason these bills didn't pass before I was there and they did when after I was there, right? It's not me, it's the stories of queer people telling our own stories to the people who don't understand why these issues matter. When we get to tell the stories of our own lives, people understand why this matters.
Awesome. Okay, this next question is for Sam. In Georgia, we have seen a proliferation of voter ID laws that just don't disenfranchise our trans siblings, but black voters, Latino voters, people with low incomes. What do you say to voters on either side of this debate about their concerns? How do you walk them through the dangers of these kinds of laws?
So, of course, Georgia has been ground zero for a lot of voter suppression laws, which unfortunately is a continuation of what we're seeing. Especially from the perspective of folks in the South, MAGA is essentially the old South rising again. And so we have to continue to organize. We have to continue to educate. We have to work on building and strengthening our coalitions so that we know our power, we know our rights, and flood the ballot box.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Travis, this next question is for you. Some people may see Oregon's national vote and consider it a safe blue state, but we know that people like you and Governor Kotek have had to fight like hell to get elected. What should people in this room take away about so-called blue states and the realities on the ground for LGBTQ plus candidates and elected officials?
Wow. Well, many of our blue states are blue states because they've got a big blue dot
Right.
right in the middle of that state. And in Oregon, that blue dot is Portland. I think of our 36 counties, there's only 5 or 6 that are actually blue. If you go outside of Portland or Eugene, you are in red America. And it's not always a welcoming place for you. Oregon is a great place to live. I love it. I love Portland. I represent citizens in North and Northeast Portland. But we've got a long way to go in a lot of ways. For those of you who don't know, Oregon became a state in 1859, and it didn't enter the Union as a free state or a slave state. It entered as a black exclusion state. And it has a history that is rooted in systemic discrimination that has a reach not just with race, but as it relates to LGBTQ plus matters as well. There is still a constitutional ban on LGBTQ plus marriage in our state. We're working on that. But Oregon has not always been so friendly, and I know that's the case in a lot of our blue states as well. So it's important for people like us up here, us in this room, to run and to be ourselves, because people who are thinking about running who are LGBTQ plus often have a lot of fear, and they need to see us, and we need to be visible.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is going to be for all of you. In a single sentence, or even a single word, why are you supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz?
Freedom. We've got a candidate on the other side that wants to take rights away, who appoints justices and judges that are taking rights away. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are about freedom and creating an America in which we are all welcome and can thrive.
I love Kamala and Tim Walz, but one sentence. The alternative is the end of the movement for trans rights politically in America.
I'm all in for Kamala because she is fighting to ensure our country lives up to the promise of America of ensuring all of our freedoms and rights for all of us.
I'm supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for legacy, because I want my children to know that there was someone that was on the ground that was fighting on their behalf. And so that's why I'm supporting them.
And my apologies. I know that we're a little behind, and so if that panel felt a little rush, you see the, and so again, I want to thank our panelists for being up here, for answering those questions. I know some of them were a little difficult, and it's like, okay, how do I articulate this? And I think that we who serve in public office, it's never an easy task when we're sitting there championing bills and trying to get things across the finish line and getting people to understand, what our truth is, what our stories are, and how we feel. Especially working on the other side, your colleagues on the other side. But those who step up to those leadership roles, those who take on the good fight, we applaud you, we appreciate you, and please keep doing what you're doing. Yes, sir.
Can I just have a moment? I really want to give Earl Foley
Again, thank you, panelists, for that. And thank you all for joining us and being here. I'm not sure what's next on the agenda. Careful, careful. Yes.
Please now welcome to the stage Vivian Rodriguez.
Hello, Democrats. How are we doing today? So for those of you who do not know who I am and what state I come from, I am Vivian Rodriguez, a proud, openly gay Puerto Rican American woman. Thank you. Who retired from the NYPD, the New York City Police Department, in 2004, serving 21 years of honorable service. During my tenure, I was elected the president of the Gay Officers Action League, which represents law enforcement professionals. The Gay Officers Action League was born in 1982, and it was to fill the needs and issues and concerns of LGBTQ plus law enforcement, personnel, and it eventually evolved into a civil rights organization. We have served as a bridge between the law enforcement community and the LGBTQ community at large. As president, I advocated for equal representation within the NYPD and worked with former LGBTQ State Senator Thomas Duane. And we worked together to make sure that LGBTQ law enforcement officers had the same rights as everyone who was an officer in the NYPD. We worked together to make sure that there were policy changes to represent and to protect LGBTQ police officers who might be killed in the line of duty, to make sure that they receive the same benefits as all other members of the New York City Police Department. We also had a program where we would have the new recruits come in for a week, and the goal officers would take all the recruits, and we would have a sensitivity awareness training program where we would teach them how to interact with the LGBTQ community and also do several scenarios to see how they would react in real time. It's an excellent program, and we've invited various agencies to come in, and it's been well received and talked about. I have also served in various different LGBTQ organizations, from the LGBTQ Democratic Party of Florida. We also have HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, which all of us know that on a national level, they do the greatest work for us. I served on Equality Florida, and we created a chapter in Central Florida of the LGBTQ Gay Officers Action League. So now at this time, I would like to talk briefly about an actor, activist, all-around, well-rounded, well-known person who is also a Puerto Rican who is proud, and I'm very proud of all his work. He has so many accomplishments that I can't even begin to tell you all the accolades that he's received. But we all know the popular play, Rent, and he played Angel in Rent. And of course, do we have any Star Trek fans in here? Well, we all recognize him from Star Trek. And at this time, I would like to tell you a little personal story on how I met Wilson. He is very active in getting out the vote within the LGBTQ community as well as the Latino community. And he came to Florida, to Orlando, Florida, and we all joined a caravana. Is anyone familiar here with a caravana? A Caravana is a Hispanic outreach where we all have fun, we're riding in cars, we have instruments. It's like a marvelous way to get out the vote. And it really connects with our Latino community. So, of course, Wilson, myself, Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, we were all there together, on a tractor no less, with our signs and playing some instruments. We were having a great time. And that's the dedication we need from people like Wilson. So at this time, please, a round of applause for Wilson Cruz, a great activist and actor.
Hello, Chicago! You know, after last night's barn burner speeches from the Obamas, I have one question for you. Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Because it's time to get to work to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, President and Vice President of the United States, honey. And I know you've heard this all before, but I was a citizen of the state of California for 25 years. And I had the blessing, the opportunity to vote for Kamala Harris at every opportunity she showed up on a ballot. And I cannot wait to cast my ballot for the next President of the United States, the first Black woman, the first South Asian woman to be President of the United States. Because throughout her entire career, Vice President Harris has shown up for us. She showed up for us when she fought for our right to marry who we love. She showed up for us when she pushed for the Equality Act in the Senate. And she has shown up for us as Vice President, being a part of the most pro-equality administration in US history. Kamala Harris has been a champion for LGBTQ people for decades. And now it's time that we show up for her. And I'm showing up and using my voice and getting on the road, talking to voters, doing whatever I need to do, whatever is asked of me in order to make this happen, because everything, and I do mean everything, is at stake. Our country is faced not just with two different candidates in this election, but two different visions for the future of this country. We can either have a country where our rights and freedoms are protected, or a country where the Trump Project 2025 agenda drags us back in time. We can have a Congress that cares about our families and believes that we are all deserving of dignity and respect, or a Congress that terrorizes LGBTQ plus people. And as the board chair of GLSEN, which works to make schools safe across this country for our young people, I have to tell you that I am sick and tired. I am up to here with these attempts to dehumanize and terrorize our young people and their supportive families and their teachers who are just giving them the opportunity to fulfill their potential, which every child should have the right to do. We can have a White House that believes in equality for all of us, or a dictatorship hell-bent on ending American democracy itself. And that's why I am showing up, because a brighter future is worth fighting for our young people. Our freedoms are worth fighting for. We have made incredible progress, and we are not going back. We are not going back. I'm so very proud of this community. And I'm just gonna say this and then I'm out, because I know we have a long night ahead of us. But we are change makers. We don't just change the game, we change the world. Because we're fighting with our hearts. We're fighting in order to be who we are, to love who we love. And there's no stronger force in the universe than love. And when you lead with love, you win. I love all of you. I love this community. I'm inspired by you. And I'm grateful to all of you for all of the work that you're going to go do back home to make sure that we elect Kamala Harris, President of the United States. Let's go forward. Thank you so much.
And now please welcome to the stage Charlotte Clymer.
I see you, Congresswoman. Congresswoman Becca Balint is right there. She's amazing. Folks, thank you so much. I want to give a quick shout out to Sam Alleman, Leon Kahn, and Chairman Earl Fells for their incredible leadership today and bringing this event together. Let's give them a round of applause. They've been amazing. And very quickly, before I introduce our amazing next speaker, I want to offer thanks, of course, to the leadership of the DNC for what has been a fantastic convention this week. But very respectfully, I also want to say something that I think needs to be heard, and that is that currently there are no trans speakers on the speaking schedule for this week at the convention. Not one. Now, I understand there are a lot of folks here. I get that. But at a moment when trans people are being viciously, directly attacked on a daily basis, and in a year when we are about to elect the first trans member of Congress in our country's history, it is absolutely ridiculous that Sarah McBride is not on the speaking program this week yet. It just is. And listen, I know they'll respond that there's no room, but here's my response: make room. It needs to happen. Now, in 2021, when Terry McAuliffe, the beloved Democratic governor in Virginia, lost to the person whose name I won't even mention because I can't stand him, there was a lot of talk about CRT and LGBTQ rights and all the hateful speech that is usually brought up in the analysis when Democrats lose. What was missing in that post-election analysis is that a progressive trans woman was elected to the state Senate and outperformed the top of the ticket in her district, beating a popular Republican. That happened. When people tell us that trans folks can't win elections, we know that's not true. And I especially point to folks like Danica Rome, who has over and over and over defeated Republicans who are viciously anti-LGBTQ, and she gets the work done. Danica Rome wakes up every day wondering what she can do to make sure no one is left behind, from getting the Equal Rights Amendment ratified by the Virginia legislature, to advocating for free school lunches for hungry children, to working on transportation policy to ensure that every citizen is able to get around town. 51 bills introduced and passed by Danica Rome. 14 of them addressing childhood hunger. 14. 68 million dedicated to fixing Route 28 in Virginia. And of course, Medicaid expansion for 700,000 people in Virginia. That is our Danica Rome. So it gives me great pleasure and an honor to introduce my dear friend, State Senator Danica Rome.
Charlotte Clymer, everyone, give it up again. There are, in fact, some good things that come out of Texas. Charlotte, well done. Thank you very kindly. What's up, friends? All right, so my name is Danica Rome, and I am grateful to serve the people of the 30th District of the Senate of Virginia, which includes the cities of Manassas, Manassas Park, and my lifelong home of Western Prince William County. Now, if you know me in this room, chances are it's because I'm the first out-and-seated trans state legislator in the country, but more importantly, I'm not the last. And now we have a lot more, and I hope we grow even more into the future. And throughout this week, I've gotten a chance to hear people describe Vice President Harris as being fearless. And we heard her even earlier, just a couple bits ago, about when she was that kid standing up to the playground bully as a child. And I love that because 20 years ago, I wasn't fearless. I was scared of people finding out who I really was. I was scared about being attacked or outed or worse, like what happened to Gwenawahu in 2002 for simply existing as a trans woman in America. And when I was home from college in 2004, I drive to DuPont Circle in DC. I drive over P Street, park my car over the bridge, and when I got out of the car, you know, I'm in my skirt, my heels, and I would have my hair over my face, and I would walk as quick as I could over the bridge, past the gas station on the right, and I'd try to make a beeline to go into Apex, the little club there, and just thinking the whole time, please don't let anyone recognize me. Please don't let anyone know. Meanwhile, that same year across the country, there was a newly elected district attorney who stepped out of her car at City Hall after the mayor of San Francisco had declared marriage equality legal in the city. And Kamala Harris walked in, head held high, and asked how she could help. And then she started officiating weddings. And she did it with the same joy that's the cornerstone of her campaign today. Kamala Harris supported us before it was popular, even in the Democratic Party. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. 9 years later, 2013, I was 4 weeks into hormone replacement therapy when I went to a New Year's Eve party with friends, and again, I'm walking in the door. I don't want it to distract anything. I have my hair down again, my head's down. I'm trying not to draw attention to myself. And that's when a woman with an Irish accent, she spotted me, and she came up to talk to me in the restroom, and she asked me if I was trans. And I kind of looked to the floor, and I kind of sheepishly said, yeah. And she told me she could tell, not because of what I looked or what I said, but because I lacked confidence. And she was telling me to keep my chin up because I belonged there. And 6 years later, when I met Kamala Harris, now as a state legislator meeting a United States senator, she told me to keep my shoulders down and my chin up because I was exactly where I was meant to be. Y'all, I am exactly where I was meant to be, which is right here with you today. And I'll never hide my face in fear again because I'm not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back to an ungrateful Trump administration, especially kicking transgender service members out of the military, even though those very troops showed more courage and service to our country in Afghanistan than their then commander-in-chief ever did or ever could. My friends, our friends, are the ones who are on the ballot for the White House this fall with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. Friends who want us to succeed because of who we are, not despite it, and not for what discriminatory politicians tell us we're supposed to be. You be you better than anyone else ever could because you're the only one who ever can. Let's go win big this fall. Thank y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kira Johnson.
I had on real fresh red lipstick earlier, so y'all got the crusty at the end, but know that it was real fierce when I walked in. Yes. Give it up for the red that was real popping about 2 hours ago. I want to give a shout out to the interpreters from earlier. They were super dope. Task Force AF, Task Force Action Fund, follow us there. I'm not going to talk about us because I was called to say these words that I'm going to say to you now. I am so very honored to be with you, and it is a gift and not an accident, because forces on this continent and others have for centuries been conspiring to eradicate us and our peoples. Yet we are here. We are living our lives, finding our joy, dreaming our dreams, and carrying on the promise and legacy of our ancestors. I am a pansexual woman, descended from peoples whose lands were stolen and peoples who were stolen. We are a gift, not an accident, but an antidote to centuries of poison that could never destroy us, because we are the descendants of stars. I'm a Georgia girl, red clay running through my veins. And I met President Carter at the convention in Denver in 2008. You may not know that his administration was the first administration to entertain a queer delegation. And the task force led that delegation. Yes. My president, President Carter, was the only president that the National LGBTQ Task Force Action Fund ever endorsed until just this year when we endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. And it is only fitting, given that together she and Tim have a nearly unmatched record for being champions of LGBTQ plus people. And with you, with us, with our peoples, we can secure the presidency, the Senate, and the House, and ensure the Equality Act is finally passed. An Equality Act that was first introduced by President Carter, and we gonna finish that business with this next administration. We are a gift, not an accident. Our blood, sweat, tears, hopes, and dreams are the antidote for our world. Here's to Harris and Walz 2024. I also have the immense honor to introduce our mother. Come on up here. Miss Major. I am amazed at how many queer folks who were on this stage that 2 hours couldn't even, it wasn't enough time. And you all are the lucky few who get to hear from our elders, our elder. It is not, our elders didn't even know they would be here. And when I say here, I don't mean at the DNC, I mean on the planet. I urge any of you who have power in your organizations, in your communities, find the elders who were not supposed to be here and give them the spotlight. Give us the opportunity to learn from who they are and the fights that they fought and the lessons that are evergreen that we can still benefit from. Miss Major, you know how much I love you, and Lord knows there's not enough time on this mic to be able to express it. And so with that, I will turn it over to you. This Kamala Harris is the first candidate that Miss Major has ever endorsed. And in her words, because everybody else has just been a bunch of bullshit. I know I'm cussing, but she cusses, so I can say that. And so it's a big deal that she's out here doing this right now for Harris and Walz. Miss Major?
Thank you all. To close us out, please welcome our final speaker to close us out, Becca Ballant of Vermont.
I love the diehards who are here to the bitter end. You are special. You understand. All the goodness happens right at the end. Here's what I want to say. You know it all. You've heard it all. You know the stakes. You understand why it's so important that we are engaged in this work. So I'm not going to go over that. You know that. I'm not going to tell you about the work that I do in Congress. You see the horrible things on TV that we all have to deal with MAGA Republicans who are trying to erase us, who are so hateful, who demonize and discriminate and are full of grievance. You know all that. So what I want to talk about to close us out is what you each bring to this work. I want to talk about your leadership. You're here in this room because you understand the stakes and you're engaged in this work. I learned recently that there is this incredible thing that happens when we experience a sense of awe. And what I mean by that is when you stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon or you look at the Tetons, you experience a sense of awe. When you are in church or synagogue and you are in collective spirituality with others, you experience a sense of awe. When you are at a Taylor Swift concert and you are all moving together, or at a Broadway show like Rent, and everyone knows all the words and you're all doing it together, you experience a sense of awe. And when you experience that, something changes inside of you. And we know this intuitively, but the data also bears it out. You are more open to the world. You have more humility. You have more curiosity, which is why we seek it. And we experienced that last night in watching Doug Emhoff and Michelle Obama and Barack Obama bring down the House. The collective spirit was elevating all of us into a heightened sense of awe. And it feels good, and we want more of it. But something that I learned recently about this experience is that a universal experience of awe that most people don't think about, but actually is what drives us in this work, is that we are inspired by watching people do things beyond what they think is possible. And we saw all of that today with all of the speakers who came up here. They have pushed beyond what they thought was possible for themselves or their communities. And that's what each of us has the capacity to do for others. When we collectively push beyond what we think is possible in this election cycle, when we elect Kamala Harris, when we elect Tim Walz, and when we elect people who believe in our community and the fact that we are here, and not just that they will tolerate us, but that they will celebrate us, that is so powerful to have that collective experience together. It makes us better people. We seek that out. So my question to you today, what do you bring to this work? I am a member of Congress. I never thought I would be in Congress. I am the child of an immigrant and a working class mom. Nobody had elected in Vermont a woman to represent them in Congress before me. The first queer person to be elected statewide. And yes, thank you, give it up for me. But I was told to stay small. I was told, do not put your wife and your kids in your first campaign commercial. I was told, don't be so gay. Maybe put on some dresses. Maybe not wear the suits all the time. Maybe just put your light under a bushel. Just put your light away. What I want to say to you is what draws people to us, whether you are a leader in elected office or whether you're a leader in your community or an organization or a business or an activist movement, what draws people to you is curiosity, generosity, humility. It is listening more than you talk. It is elevating the people around you instead of yourself. And we all have the capacity to do that. The frightening thing about all of that is the data also shows that although those are the things that draw people to you, that give you that leadership, those are the first things that you lose when you get power. The first things to go are humility and curiosity and generosity. And it slips away before you even know it's happening. So we collectively, as leaders in our communities, as leaders in our businesses and organizations and movements, we have to always be vigilant to how we are showing up. Because when I loop it back to the beginning of where I started, when we show up as our best selves, as our most generous, our most curious, our most loving selves, collectively we can experience a sense of awe about what we in the human experience are able to accomplish. That's what I want to leave you with today. It's not that in the arena tonight we have Kamala Harris, who is incredible, and Tim Walz, who's incredible, and all of their surrogates. What I want you to think about is we are incredible. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones who will do the work across this country, not just in this election, but for our children and our children's children and our communities, because we have to. We have no choice, not just for the goodness of all of us, but because our own very self, our own humanity depends on it. So, when we leave here today, I want you to remember, you have a part in this. You do not need to be in elective office to transform your community, to transform the people around you. Lean hard into your humility and your curiosity and your generosity. Others will be drawn to you. Thank you very much.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for the honors I've received and the attention and the hard work that we've all done together to build this party and make it a better tent, a stronger tent, and want a tent that everyone is welcome. I have a few hall passes if people don't have any passes to the, just go over there. If you need a hall pass tonight, you can go over see this gentleman over there. And the meeting adjourned. You're welcome.